Now that House of the Dragon Season 2 is behind us, there is one thing that keeps bugging me, almost more than the awful season finale. And that is, what a shitty position House Velaryon was put and left in. So today we're gonna go over that. Spoilers ahead, buckle up and join me for the ride. After Queen Aemma dies in childbirth, the Velaryons in House of the Dragon basically start as a competition to the High Towers, as well as potentially to Rhaenyra. What do I mean by that? Well, the Velaryons' first big move is to try and get Lana married to Viserys. This is both for the sake of boosting their reputation and power, but also undoubtedly with the expectation that Lana will one day give Viserys more heirs who could potentially be in the game for the Iron Throne. We know that both Corlys and Rhaenys are reluctant to marry their tween daughter to Viserys, understandably so, but they also concede that in order to stay on top, they must play the game. Rhaenys was living proof that power doesn't pass into the hands of a woman that easily in Westeros, so she chooses to play by the old rules and use her daughter as a political pawn. When the marriage proposal between Lana and Viserys is ultimately rejected, we know that Corlys, at least, gets very mad. He doesn't hide his outrage, but mostly he feels betrayed. House Velaryon and House Targaryen have a history as close allies and good friends. Aegon the Conqueror's own mother was a Velaryon on her father's side. When King Viserys rejected the match, Velaryons weren't just sore losers because Lana didn't get picked. The cut goes much deeper. I'm not implying that House Velaryon deserved anything simply because their ancestors were on good terms with the Targaryens. I'm just trying to highlight how deep and nuanced the situation is. And we can see that this is just one example that shows that Viserys and Rhaenyra have little regard for history and tradition. Little by little, this piles up. The next move for the Velaryons is to marry Laenor to Rhaenyra, and oh boy, is this marriage a disaster. On paper, this seems like a pretty good match. Two powerful Valyrian houses strengthening and continuing their alliance. We know that Rhaenyra and Laenor did try to make things work, at least for the sake of having an heir, but the keyword here is tried. Obviously, not hard enough. No pun intended. It's very clear, especially in the show, that Lucerys, Jacaerys, and Joffrey are not Laenor's sons. Everyone with eyes can see this, even if you have just one eye, like Aemond. And not only does this situation throw a bad light on Rhaenyra and her reputation as the prospective future queen, but it really is a huge slap in the face to the Velaryons. They sold their eldest son and heir, the most valuable player in any noble house in a medieval society, they sold him into marriage where he was made into a laughingstock. Made into something that I probably can't say on YouTube if I don't want to risk the wrath of the censorship gods. But my point is, Rhaenyra makes Laenor into a joke, and yes, they both agreed that they should each dine as they see fit, but one would think that before they do that, they would at least do their royal duty and secure the royal line first. By having not one, not two, but three very obviously illegitimate sons, Rhaenyra spat in the face of House Velaryon. It showed that she values neither their alliance nor history. No, this is not purely her fault. Nothing is one single character's fault in House of the Dragon, or in the world in general. But in the paraphrased words of Alicent Hightower, one illegitimate child is a mistake, three are an insult. To the crown, to Rhaenyra herself, to her husband, and to both their houses. The fact that Rhaenyra's sons are bastards probably damages the reputation of House Velaryon the most. Firstly, the Velaryons were, in a way, robbed of the Iron Throne. Because they expected Rhaenyra to sit on the Iron Throne one day, they also assumed that since she married Laenor, their son, that one day Corlys and Rhaenys' grandson would be king.
Upon their birth, Laenor and Rhaenyra's children shall take their father's name, Velaryon. However, at such time when their firstborn ascends the Iron Throne, he or she will do so bearing the name Targaryen.
But secondly, and more importantly, the fact that Rhaenyra and Laenor don't have true-born sons greatly and seriously affects the inheritance of Driftmark. It's kinda crazy how things turned out for the Velaryons. They secured two very strong matches with the Targaryen royal line. One Velaryon married Rhaenyra and the other one Damon, And yet, they got the short end of the stick in both cases. Sure, the fact that Lana only had daughters and the fact that Laenor was gay was fate, rather than anything else. But then again, the nobility in a medieval kingdom such as Westeros would understand the importance of true-born heirs. At least as far as Laenor goes, where there's a will, there could be a way. Now Corlys named Luke heir to Driftmark, knowing full well that he is not Laenor's son, therefore not Corlys's grandson. But he chose Luke because Luke was a male. With this in mind, Rhaenys's decision to accept Rhaenyra's offer to wed Luke and Rhaena and Jace and Baela is quite understandable. With these two marriages, the Velaryons could remain relatively powerful and would stay at least as close as possible to Driftmark and to the Iron Throne. Unlike Vaemond, who reacted with a fiery outburst at the prospect of losing Driftmark to an illegitimate child.
You dare tell me who deserves to inherit the name Velaryon? No. Bastards!
Rhaenys chose the diplomatic route. She experienced firsthand that a woman's climb to power is 10 times more difficult than a man's, if not impossible. She saw what happened with Lana. She accepted the fact that, despite her advice, her own husband would still rather put a bastard in charge of their own house rather than a true-born granddaughter. Therefore, Rhaenys decided to do what she thought would be the next best thing: ensure that her granddaughters retain and possibly gain power through marriage. She used her daughter as a pawn before, and now she continues to do the same with her granddaughters. It's sad, but it's a harsh reality of this kind of society. If we look at the situation in isolation, we can definitely understand Rhaenys' decision. But there is, however, some nuance that needs to be considered. Rhaenyra's marriage to Laenor was not taken seriously, and House Velaryon was disrespected. Yet the betrothal of Baela and Rhaena to the Strong Boys gets accepted. Laenor is now gone, is what Rhaenys and Corlys believe, and they suspect that Rhaenyra and Damon are responsible for it. Yet the betrothal of Baela and Rhaena to the Strong Boys is still agreed upon. Vaemond is decapitated publicly in a cowardly, backstabbing manner in front of the entire court, moments after the betrothal of Baela and Rhaena to the Strong Boys gets announced. Now, if that isn't another slap in the face to the House Velaryon, then I don't know what is. I do wonder if Rhaenys' plan changed on the spot, though. When Vizzy Ex Machina showed up, that's why she decided to play nice, take Rhaenyra up on her offer. Because she saw, at that moment, what the verdict was gonna be. Lucerys is gonna get Driftmark because Daddy Vizzy only sees his darling Rhaenyra. So the options are either the Velaryons lose Driftmark completely, or they get at least something out of this for their granddaughters. Still, one has to wonder, when is enough enough?
I reached too far, and for nothing. Our pursuit of the Iron Throne is at an end. We shall declare for no one. Rhaenyra was complicit in our son's death.
Few moments later.
You have the full support of our fleet and house, Your Grace.
Corlys and Rhaenys keep coming back to Damon and Rhaenyra, time after time, blow after blow, insult after insult. You can't tell me that the Velaryons hold a bigger grudge against the Hightowers who, yes, they spoiled their plans with Viserys and Lana, but are you telling me that they are far less upset with the Targaryens, who publicly decapitated a member of their family, humiliated, and for all they know, took out another member, and now as a cherry on top, they also want to take Velaryon's family seat away from them? If Velaryons allied themselves with the Hightowers, they could take revenge on Damon and Rhaenyra. And let's not forget that, after all, the Greens also have 2 bachelors, Aemond and Daeron. They could be just as good, if not better, matches for Baela and Rhaena, and the Hightowers could be formidable allies.
House Velaryon has long allied itself with the Princess Rhaenyra, and what has it gained you? Your daughter dead, alone in Pentos, your son cuckolded. Rhaenyra's heirs are none of yours. If it's Driftmark you want, you shall have it. For you and your granddaughters to pass on as you see fit.
And then as we continue, we get to Aegon's coronation and the Beast Beneath the Boards scene. The Beast Beneath the Boards was a very cool scene to watch, but I always wonder, what exactly was Rhaenys' thought process here? Let me show them I escaped and that I have the high ground, that I could do something, but I won't. I'll fly off to Dragonstone, lose the element of surprise, and give the Greens time to prepare for a counterattack. That scene sadly didn't make the most sense. After Lucerys' passing, Rhaenys once again asks Corlys to let their granddaughters inherit Driftmark. He doesn't want Rhaena and he doesn't want Baela, and only after Rhaenys is gone does he think, maybe I could honor my wife by offering Driftmark to Baela. And of course, for the sake of plot convenience, Baela refuses. So this whole situation is a mess, but I would say that even more difficult to believe is the fact that Corlys agrees to become Rhaenyra's hand. You lost your son to the Targaryens, your brother, most recently your wife. You have been humiliated multiple times, and yet you say yes to this? Corlys proceeded to save Rhaenyra's ass in front of her council and defend her, and not once did she come to him for advice. Not before making him hand, and even afterwards, how much she values his opinion is debatable. I know that Corlys is broken after so much loss, but the disrespect of House Targaryen keeps piling onto his head. I guess fighting for Rhaenyra's cause is also a way of honoring Rhaenys, so maybe that's why he does it, but too much is too much. At this point, it's really pushing the boundaries of what is believable. And I do wonder what direction the show will take with Corlys. I'm not gonna reveal anything from the book, but I do wonder how faithful they will stay to the book Corlys in the upcoming season of House of the Dragon. I guess only time will tell. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and let me know your thoughts on House Velaryon, how it was depicted in HBO's House of the Dragon. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you change? Let me know. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.